Amanda here from createyourfuture.co. So today I have Angela joining me. Hey, Angela.
Hi, Amanda.
Hey guys, we have a really exciting video of how to manifest your specific person back after a breakup or a fight or anything like that. So yeah, this video is definitely for you if you want to resolve any sort of like conflict with your specific person, get them back if you broke up, so get your ex back, or any sort of like basically making up after a fight, and how you can actually change them to prevent these things from happening in the future. I think that's the most important part. So guys, just before we dive into it, we do have a free course, how to find your blocks to manifest anything fast. The link is in the description below. I think it's really important to find your blocks, because when you know what your blocks are, you can manifest something so much quicker when you know which thoughts you need to change, right? Because let's face it, manifestation is instant. And if we're not getting it instantly, then we need to change something that we were doing, right? So, and also Angela's available for coaching. She's absolutely amazing. Her clients are getting lots of success. So definitely check out them both in the link in the description below. So I'm going to dive in. I'm going to dive in with a story of how I turn around my particular fights in my relationship. And we actually don't fight that often, but once in a while, I do sometimes feel like I'm in a bad mood and I want to pick a fight. Okay. And was one day we were driving and we were just like at each other, like completely like up to screaming, like so angry. And at one point I was like, I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, this is stupid, right? And Andrea was really, really upset at me, and and a lot of things were being said or whatever. And then at one point we're driving and pulling into the driveway, and I thought, what, I'm like, I just want to get along. I'm like, I don't want to fight with him. I'm like, all of this is really nothing. So I came into my front lobby and I was taking my jacket off, and I thought to myself, I'm like, no, what, I intend he apologizes, and what, I intend that he starts to see that he took things the wrong way, and then he just wants to get along. And all of a sudden, it was like snowing, so I had to get out of the truck before he could park it, because if he parked it I wouldn't be able to get out. So I had this little bit of time to myself in the lobby, and by the time he parked the truck and got out, he came to the door, and you just see on his face he felt so sorry, and he said, I'm sorry, I took it the wrong way, right? And of course he took it the wrong way, but then I reacted, right? So of course I was like, well, I'm sorry I reacted to you reacting and taking something the wrong way, right? And and so we ended up making up, and it was like that quick. So it de-escalated quite quickly, because at the same time, you got to change you inside of here. You can't hold on to that anger, right? And be like, that's it, he needs to apologize. No, we have to go into the state of what we want them to reflect back to us. So I was like, I intended he would take responsibility for what he did, and I also at the same time was like, well, what, I do feel bad, I reacted, I really didn't need to, like I knew, and I changed my perception of it. He's just like, having a stressful time right now, and that's why he got upset, and changing the whole story around it. Like if I was like, no, he's just a complete meanie, he's like, it's not the word I wanted to say, but if I would hold on to that, then he would still show up that way. But I was like, no, what, he was just stressed out, he didn't get enough sleep last night, and that's exactly what he said. He's like, I'm sorry, I took it the wrong way, I'm stressed out, I didn't get enough sleep last night. So it's like, giving the things that are showing up in your reality the meaning that you want them to get you towards your goal, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that story, and it's an example of how quickly it can turn around. That's really great. I love that. And it's really just about getting past that old story, because we're not necessarily changing that person. What we're doing is changing that perception that we're holding inside. Like you said, it's everything that's inside, and we are writing the script for them. We're deciding how they're going to show up. And so, we have to examine what we're thinking about, because those thoughts are pushing out, they're picking up on all of that all the time. And, we can identify those qualities and those things that we saw in the relationship, the things that led up to the breakup, that led to that problem, identify those, and then, create something different, something that's better. And for example, maybe if your partner has been unfaithful or they're disrespectful, you're going to create this new story of now how faithful they are, how respectful they are. You're going to begin to intentionally see them differently, intentionally make that decision to see them differently. And this is where that mental diet comes in. It's being aware. This is like the game, being aware of what you're thinking about, because that old story is just a pattern. It's just a habit that wants to creep in and sneak in. And so your mental diet is going to catch it, before you start down that rabbit hole, start down that old story. You just want to catch it and pull it back and say, wait a minute. I'm choosing to see this person this way now. I'm choosing to see these qualities in them. I'm the author. I'm the director. I'm creating this whole new story. And that's what we're doing. You look at those old things that created the problem and you change them. And your person is going to reflect it.
Oh, exactly. And I can tell you exactly the thought that started that argument was, he's going to take this the wrong way. That was it right there. And then I thought to myself, and I'm in such a bad mood, I'm going to react to it, right? And so to prevent this from going forward, right, to sort of, add to what Angela said, was that now, it's like, in my mind, right, I mean, that's not a common disagreement that we have, and it's very rare, but now, I mean, for me to be aware, okay, that was the thought that I had that started this. So now when I go to maybe say something in the future, I'm going to just check in with myself. Am I thinking, is he going to take this the wrong way? And if I am thinking that, I need to say to myself, no, he's not going to take this the right way. He's going to totally understand. It's not a big deal. You know what? It's going to be okay. I can say whatever I want, and he totally is understand, calming and loving and, receptive to anything that I have to say, right? And so it's to stop it from happening going forward, what story are you holding about that person? You know what I mean? And then sometimes that story, unfortunately, becomes subconscious. And, it's something that you don't even really notice you're thinking about, because it's every time you're like, here we go again. You know what I mean? And sometimes, if it's a reoccurring fight with whatever the your assumption is, it's just the statement, here we go again. It's like, boom, 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 all the thoughts subconsciously, sort of flood back and then get shown up in your reality. So it's about being conscious in those moments of when things would, be a trigger, in your thoughts to show up in your reality, is stopping yourself and going, okay, how do I want this outcome to be? In the past, I've said stuff like this and it's turned out like this. What do I want this outcome to be instead? How do I want them to react instead to what I'm about to say, right? And taking that time to have that conscious conversation with yourself, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's that awareness, and it's asking yourself, like you said, do I want to experience that? Because I catch myself sometimes, I feel justified in that negative thinking, but do I want to experience that? No. What do I want to experience? And then you change it. And it's, taking ownership for those thoughts. And it's also just that willingness to let go of that old story. Sometimes we feel so justified in that anger or whatever it is, but you have to be willing to let that go. And if there's been a hurt, if there's been a wrong, you can manifest like you did, manifest the apology, manifest the reconciliation. But the most important thing is to get past that part, get past it so that it's in the past and the thinking is now geared towards the new behavior, the new relationship, whatever outcomes that you're wanting for the future that are better.
Right. And so a really good way to get past that anger and stuff is to change your perception of the situation, change the meaning you're giving the other person's actions. So I've told this story in a video before, but I'm going to say it again because it's a really good example of this. So at night, for some reason, when I get up to go to the bathroom, Andrew gets up too, and he's been turning on the light lately. Never did this before, just started. And then I come out of the bathroom, the light's on, and I have a hard time falling back to sleep. It wakes me up. So of course, a couple times it happened, I'm completely annoyed. I'm like, what? He doesn't respect me. What's his problem? Why is he trying to annoy me? And then, so finally it was last night, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm like, I thought I'd say something. I'm like, I was like, why is the light on? I'm like, I find it really hard to go back to sleep when I get up in the middle of the night and you turn the light on. And he was like, oh, well, I need the light on to put my earplugs back in and stuff. And I was like, so at first I was annoyed because I thought he was doing it just to annoy me because it wasn't needed. And then when I said something about it, he says, well, actually I need it, to put my sleep mask back on, my earplugs in or whatever, to find my earplugs. And I'm like, okay, I get it. That makes sense. And then, so then I felt bad because I was no longer angry and annoyed. Now I was like, oh, he wasn't doing it just to upset me. He actually needs the light on. Newsflash, Amanda, right? And then, so then at that point, though, I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Then don't worry about it. It's fine. I'll deal with it. And then he was like, no. He's like, I can just turn it on like for 2 seconds when I come back instead of leaving it on the whole time. And I was like, oh, okay, there's a resolution, right? So, it's when we change the perception of the situation. So like the other fight that I was talking about, it was like, I was upset because I'm like, thinking, okay, well, you know what? He's just being mean to me. You know what? He's just like, a meanie, not the word I was going to say again. But, and then when I changed the perception to go, okay, look at, he's stressed out, he's tired, there's so much on his plate. And then all of a sudden, instead of making it about me and how he was disrespecting and being mean to me and changing it to, okay, you know what, there's some things going on and we're close and you always, people that you're closest with, it'll happen, because they're comfortable with you. So they'll show their emotions, right? And then when I switched to that train of thought, then I was able to let go of the anger. So it's about changing the meaning and the perception to let go of your anger, right?
Yes, I love that because it's such a good example of those thoughts that we're holding about that other person, and they're coming back to us, and everything is empty and meaningless, everything, until we assign the meaning to it. And sometimes that meaning that we assign is just that habit. It's just that habit, he's a jerk, or he's a player, whatever. It's just that habit of thinking that. But when we change that meaning and we assign a new meaning, that's such a great example. I love that. And it totally changed your scenario and your outcome. You're both just being so kind and respectful and wanting to please each other. And it's a beautiful example of that.
Oh yeah, but if I would have stayed on that, whole entire, he's annoying me and doing it just to upset me, guess what? Life wouldn't be so great right now. But that's the thing, right? When we have those thoughts that somebody is disrespecting us or doing something on purpose to hurt us, we're actually, we're mad in that moment when we think it. And then we're also putting it out to be showing up in our reality, right? So it's like, if you want the best of people to come out and to shine for you, then always see the best in people. If you want people to respect you, then always, label their behavior and give it the meaning that they're respecting you. Like always, give people what you want to get back, because ultimately you're the center of this, right? And yeah, like Angela said, everything is empty and meaningless. Everything is. And I know how the lights started coming on for some reason is because I said he always turns on lights randomly. So of course that's how it all started. And then it could have turned into a huge fight. And then it turned into, something where I changed my, my meaning to it. But, that's what life is a series of meanings we give things. And that's what gives it meaning, but give it a meaning that you want, that makes you feel good, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I love what you just said in, seeing the best in people, because, decide also in this journey, when you are wanting to reconcile and have this new relationship with your specific person, part of this is your self-esteem about who you are, in that you are the one that brings out the best in people. You are the one that they want to step up to the plate for. You are the one that they want to be better for. Build yourself up as well in that story. So, your perception of them is changing. You're creating the new story around them. But also, create that story about yourself, that you are so valuable, so worthy, so irreplaceable, that they want to be the very best they can be for you. Always include yourself in that, and make sure your mental diet about who you are aligns up with that behavior that you want to see in them. They're going to do it because you're that amazing and you bring out the best in them. Exactly. And it's win-win, really. You're building yourself up, and then you're building them up as well, and they reflect it back to you.
Exactly. And then everybody's happy.
Yes.
Everybody's happy. So, whatever you're going through right now in any sort of relationship, revise your breakup, revise your fight. So like, how would you revise a breakup would be, so you know what, there was a misunderstanding. They realize that they're wrong and they want to be with me and they're going to apologize. You don't need to manifest an apology, or you can manifest an apology, but change what you think that they think about it. So let's say you have a fight, then it's like, well, you know what? He's totally over it. He realizes, that he's just stressed out and he was tired and he's having a bad day. And he really, said some things he totally didn't mean. And you know what, he's going to apologize and everything's going to be fine. And life's going to be back to normal, right? And, and really live in that story to the point where you feel that anger and that tension released from you. Because when you put out what you give, when you're really angry and you're interacting with someone and fighting with them, they get really angry as well. Your thoughts are constantly going to them, right? So, you know, they will mirror back, you know, what state you're putting out in that moment. So, you know, for them to be remorseful and apologize, you've got to come to and reach that state inside of you first. And the best way to do it is to change the meaning, change the story, change your perception on the situation. You know, it's a lot easier to forgive somebody if you're like, okay, look, you know what? They had a bad night. They didn't get a good sleep. They're stressed out. They had a meltdown. Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's totally fine. It's easier to feel better in that situation than it is to go, oh, that's it. You know what? They're just being mean. They're inconsiderate. I mean, like that now is like a much harsher story, right? So change the story to something that will bring you to that state, right?
Exactly. It de-escalates and it allows your emotions to get into that state. You shift and you can feel it shift as you do that. And it's a powerful thing. And you can also, when you understand manifesting, realize that all of this is now pushing out and they are picking up on all of this because we're all connected. And, you know, you're feeling all of that shift and change, and it's helping you become aware of that power as you know, are changing the situation, changing the outcome.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, that is so awesome. I intend this video helps people, absolutely helps people, you know?
Yes, I do too. Take those thoughts captive and direct them to the outcome that you want.
Exactly. So, and guys, thank you so much for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.